Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something really special. We're looking at a deeply moving piece of source material that details the creation of a software program called Hyboso Ai. Usually, when we examine new tech, or say, dig into the architecture of an app, we're strictly focused on the algorithms, right? The system requirements, maybe the market potential. But what happens when a program is built on something far more profound? We rarely stop to ask what human heartbeat might be driving the development of these massively complex digital systems. Well, this is a story about grassroots engineering and just raw, unfiltered determination. It completely strips away that sterile environment of traditional tech development, and it replaces it with an urgent, deeply personal mission. The inspiration was from my friend who needs money for his tumor removal. Wow, the raw, unedited urgency of that statement really speaks volumes. We're absolutely not talking about a Silicon Valley startup looking for their next round of venture capital here. There's no board of directors, there's no seed funding. We're looking at a project born entirely out of desperation, love, and loyalty. The literal catalyst for building this software was the life or death stakes of a friend needing a tumor removed. Just think about the gravity of that for a second. It immediately reframes the entire purpose of the code. It isn't just software anymore. It's a lifeline, created by someone who was desperately trying to make a difference in literally the only way they knew how.
It's amazing how this kind of personal motivation completely shifts how we look at indie software development. When the absolute driving force behind your work is trying to save someone you care about, every single line of code becomes an urgent, life-altering mission. It's not just a technical pursuit, it's a race against time. Every bug, every annoying error message isn't just a glitch. It's a literal barrier between a friend and the help they so desperately need. Having this context changes everything about how we view the final product. It frames those countless hours of problem solving not as some casual hobby, but as an act of profound dedication. It really forces us to reconsider the sheer human capacity to innovate when we're pushed into a corner by circumstance.
Okay, let's dive into this, because when we look at what was actually built, the why becomes even more staggering. According to the source material, the core function of Hyboso Ai is incredibly direct. It's an AI that controls your PC. Just think about the sheer technical ambition here. We just established this deeply human, incredibly urgent catalyst, and the response to that emotional weight was to undertake the monumental task of building an operating system-level controller. Interfacing with the PC at that deep level, giving an artificial intelligence the reins to navigating files and manage system operations, that is a massive undertaking for even a seasoned engineering team. So to see an indie developer, driven entirely by a personal crisis, take on that level of system integration, it's genuinely awe-inspiring.
Unsurprisingly, the development journey was anything but smooth. The source documents the process with this incredibly honest, raw reflection. It was hard, but by the time we did it, there is just such a beautiful persistence in that statement. It perfectly captures the trial-by-fire nature of grassroots tech hobbies. There's no corporate PR spin smoothing over the difficulty here, no quality assurance teams to test for bugs, no senior developers to tap on the shoulder when things went terribly wrong. There is just a straightforward, blunt acknowledgement of the immense friction they faced completely alone, followed immediately by the triumph of actually pushing through it. It's a massive testament to what sheer willpower can accomplish when failure simply is not an option. Let's pause and really consider the reality of that build process. Imagine the late nights, the endless frustration of broken code, the seemingly insurmountable technical walls. When you're building something this complex entirely from scratch, the feeling of isolation can be totally overwhelming. Now pair that isolation with the immense emotional weight of knowing exactly why you're doing this. Pushing through that difficulty wasn't for a passing grade in a computer science class. It wasn't to meet a corporate quarterly deadline. It was for a friend's survival. That level of endurance, returning to the keyboard night after night despite the overwhelming stress and those stubborn technical roadblocks, it is simply staggering to think about. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the fascinating contrast here between the grand ambition and the grounded reality. You set out to build this omnipotent, system-level intelligence, and yet you end up spending hours pulling your hair out because the AI just refuses to open YouTube. The developer notes the specific challenge, like the ones on the AI don't open YT and etc. It is incredibly relatable. It's the classic grounding struggle of programming, where the smallest, seemingly simplest tasks become the absolute most stubborn roadblocks. You can almost feel the exhaustion in that note. Creating software that can control a whole PC sounds like magic, but the day-to-day reality is often just wrestling with basic commands that stubbornly refuse to execute. But they didn't stop at those roadblocks. When asked about their proudest accomplishment in this entire project, the source gives an answer that is simple, clear, and definitive: the AI last product. You can truly feel the creator's sense of immense triumph radiating from those words. Actually reaching that final build, having a tangible working product in your hands after battling through all those technical hurdles, the complete lack of support, and the immense emotional pressures, that is a monumental victory. They started with a desperate human need, a blank screen, and a blinking cursor. And despite literally every reason to quit, they successfully crossed the finish line with a completed piece of complex software that did exactly what it was supposed to do. So the crucial point is, perhaps the most valuable thing to come out of this intense experience was a completely new philosophy. When reflecting on what was learned during the creation of Hyboso AI, the developers summarized their new approach perfectly. Make it simple, but advance. This is such a powerful, minimalist approach to development. It acknowledges that true sophistication doesn't actually mean making something confusing, cluttered, or overly complex for the end user. It's the realization that the hardest part of engineering isn't just making something work, it's making something incredibly complicated feel completely effortless for the person using it. And that is a profound lesson to learn entirely through trial and error.
It actually hit me that simple but advanced is basically what every major UI and UX designer on the planet is chasing. It perfectly encapsulates the ultimate goal of consumer technology: incredibly complex, advanced capabilities working furiously under the hood, but presented through an interface that is entirely seamless and simple for the person actually clicking the mouse. And what's so fascinating is that this profound realization wasn't born in a high-end corporate design seminar. It wasn't taught in a masterclass. It was forged entirely from a raw, grassroots struggle to build something functional out of thin air. It just goes to show that the core tenets of great design are universal, and they surface naturally when a creator truly cares about the end product.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the future, because, incredibly, despite reaching that finish line, the work isn't stopping. The source gives us a brief but super exciting update for what's next for Hyboso AI, a new version on the way. It shows that the journey of improvement, iteration, and dedication never truly ends. The initial catalyst, that urgent need to help a friend, may have sparked the creation of version 1, but the drive to build, refine, and advance the technology continues to push the creator forward. This evolution from a desperate one-off project into an ongoing pursuit of technological refinement is the ultimate testament to the developer's newfound passion and resilience.
As we wrap up the incredible origins of Hyboso AI, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. What profound personal motivations drive the tools you build, or even just the tools you use every single day? We interact with countless pieces of software, often taking them completely for granted as just simple, everyday utilities. But behind every application, every interface, and every block of code, there is a human story. Sometimes, as we've uncovered today, it's a story of incredible sacrifice, loyalty, and love. I highly encourage you to keep that in mind the next time you boot up your PC. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking for the human element behind the digital world.